Hello and welcome back. Glad to see you still with me. In our previous video we made this beautiful cube. Very proud of it, but let's now have a look at some more options within Rhino. Direction of that arrow, whether that be left, right, up, down, forward or backwards. We have these arcs, these three colored arcs, and you might be able to guess what they do. They rotate our object around that axis there, so we can get some kind of interesting things there. Let me back that up a little bit. The other one that we have is these little boxes, these squares here. So if I drag these, this is going to scale in that direction. It's a one-dimensional scale. And again, I can scale in that dimension, and I can scale that down as well. Let me back that up, Control Z a few times. If I hold down Shift and grab one of those square boxes, it's going to scale it uniformly. You can see that we've got a uniform scale. Now, if I come across to one of these handles and just single click, then it's going to give me a dialog box. And from here, I can actually enter a hard number. So for example, I want to move this 2.5 units in that direction, the direction the arrow is pointing. Press enter, and there we go. That's moved 2.5 units in that direction. It didn't seem like a big move. Let's try that again. Let's try 50 units. That's a bit better. If I want to come back the other way, I have to put in minus and then the unit number. And let's see if we can get back to the center somewhere. Now the same goes if we want to rotate. We might want to rotate this 45 degrees. That seems simple enough. And also scale. And again, if I hold down Shift and hit that box there, then let's say we want to make this 50% bigger, so 1.5 times that size. And then we have it. So that's a great way of quickly and easily moving indication that it wants to dock, and you can see that we've docked there to the side. Now the perspective is, the properties is one that I like to keep up, and that basically helps me understand what the geometry in my scene is doing. For example, we've got a box here. Now this box is a very simple piece of geometry, and when it's super simple, Rhino can basically save some space and save some memory, make things a little bit easier and quicker by using extrusions. And you can see that we've got an object type here is a closed extrusion. Now I am going to hold down Alt and drag this arrow, and you can see I've got a little plus sign going on there. Now if I let go, you can see I've made a duplicate. So holding Alt when you drag, oh, and by the way, this square here will allow you to move in 2 dimensions rather than the handle, which allows you to only move in 1 dimension. So by holding Alt and dragging, we can create a duplicate. Okay, for this one here, I am going to convert extrusion quickly. You don't need to worry about this too much. I don't know where the button is, so I'm just going to Now that means it's got walls which are infinitely thin. They're only two-dimensional walls. So we can't use this to print. If we want to convert this into have this 3D printed and cast this, we can't because it's open. We've got these infinitely thin walls. So one thing we need to make sure is always referencing and making sure that we're using closed poly surfaces. Control Z, and you can see we've got that face back and we've got a closed solid poly surface. Fantastic. Now, FYI, another way of checking what an object is, if you want to know what it is, use the command what. If I type what up in our command bar, press enter, you can see that we have a poly surface. Coming down here to geometry, you can see that we've got a valid poly surface that is closed and solid, and it's got 6 surfaces, made up of 6 surfaces, as a cube should be. So typing what will also give you more information, which is quite handy because there's a lot more information that you may want to come across in the future. So just roll down here, you can see it's got, it'll have things like manifold edges, tolerances, the layer that it's on, object ID, all that good stuff there. But let's close that for now. This properties is just a really simple, easy way of finding out what that object is. Another panel that I like to keep open is the display panel. You can see that's this one here. I'll click on that, and that's going to give us some more information about the display view here. And if you don't see some of these, if you come to the little cog icon, it may be up the top here, it may be down the bottom. It depends on your version of Rhino. And again, this is different in Rhino 8 to Rhino 7 and previous, but there may be something called add or remove panels, or you may just see a list of panels here. And these are different panels which are going to help you with your modeling. So if you don't see a particular one that I'm describing, you can come down here and just click on one and you will see that's going to pop up. I'm just going to click away for the moment. Is our current display color. If I want to move this one here to the active layer or a different layer entirely, I can come to the properties and the layer. I can change this. You can see that's now on a layer. I can also right click on the layer that we want, and we can come across and change the object layer. And you can see we've now got different layers. The cool thing about this is if I'm working in the, say, layer 2 and I don't want to see anything on layer 3, I can hit that little light bulb and that will make that layer hidden. Obviously, if the light bulb's on, we can see it. If it's off, we can't see it. drag that underneath my layers. Now I can sort of rejig things, and I've got my layers there, box edit. Now I've got two panels, one on top of the other. I've got my properties, and again, it's great to have the properties up all the time. And I like to have my layers and my box edit there are ones that I kind of flick between a lot of the time. Let's just make this a little bit bigger because we will be exploring the box edit a little bit more. Now let's grab an object, and straight away you can see that in our size it's going to give us how big this object is. Now this is going to be a left-right measurement and an up-down measurement. So let's come, I'll tell you what, let's delete these two boxes and we will create a new box. And I'm just going to drag something a little bit more, obviously not square. So it's a rectangular box. And you can see that we are 27.9 units in one direction, 71 units in the other direction, and Z, which is our up and down, 24.9 units. Cool. Okay, now we've got some options here. We've got a uniform option, which is currently selected. And I'm going to deselect that because what this means is that we can come and we can toggle these values manually. So for example, if I want the X direction, which is this left-right direction, if I want that, that to measure something like 10, I can put in 10 and press enter. And if I want my length to be, say, 15, I can do that. If I want my height to be 5, I can do that too. So now selecting this, you can see we've got 10, 15, and 5, all values there. If I want to scale uniformly, I can put in something like 20, and that is going to scale each of those values up by the same degree, by the same amount. Now you will notice when I did that, that's scaling from the bottom left. Now, generally speaking, I like to be able to scale from the center of that object, which is usually right about where that gumball sits. So if I come and I scroll down here a little bit in our box edit, you can see that we've got these options here, X, Y, and Z. At the moment, they're set to minimum. If I change those to center, come back up to the top, and again, I am now scaling from the center of this object. Now these options that we're setting now, they will carry on whenever you shut down Rhino and restart them. You will Rhino will remember a lot of these options that we're doing. It's not going to remember all of them. For example, our display ports is still going to start up as wireframe, but there is a way of changing that in the template files. And that's going to come along a little bit later in the video because we're starting to get a little bit more technical then. But for now, some of these options I'm showing you will be remembered when Rhino restarts. So we've got our box edit, and currently we're set to scale. If I come back, that's our size there. Now we've got scale, and again we can do the same thing. I'm going to use a uniform scale. If I want to scale that down to, say, half of what it currently is, press enter, and you can see that that is the way that scale moves. Option here, really quick and easy way of doing that. Okay, let's take a break here. I'll let you grab a tea or a coffee or a Red Bull or energy drink of your choice. We have covered the gumball, the panels off to the side there. The next video we are going to have a look at some of the persistent options in Rhino that's going to help us set us up for our future modeling.